At first, the clue looks almost too small to matter. Beneath the nose of the J-15T, between its twin front wheels, a short metal launch bar reaches toward the deck. Yet that compact mechanism marks a fundamental change in Chinese carrier aviation. On September 22, 2025, the J-15T completed its first publicly confirmed electromagnetic catapult-assisted takeoff and arrested landing aboard the aircraft carrier Fujian. The aircraft was not simply taking off from a longer runway at sea. For a few violent seconds, the carrier and fighter had to function as one machine. That creates a manufacturing question hidden inside the finished aircraft. How do you assemble a large carrier fighter that can be pulled forward by an electromagnetic catapult, thrown into flight with fuel and stores aboard, and then returned to be stopped by a cable and a hook? To answer it, we will follow the J-15T from isolated parts to its final carrier qualification. Along the way, three details matter most: the strengthened launch interface at the nose, the folding and arresting hardware that makes the aircraft suitable for a crowded flight deck, and the final test that proves the fighter and carrier are compatible. The J-15T belongs to a family built by Aviation Shenyang Aircraft Corporation and developed for the Chinese Navy. It retains the family's unmistakable outline: one cockpit, two engines, canards ahead of broad swept wings, two vertical tails, folding outer wing panels, and an arresting hook beneath the rear fuselage. But the letter T identifies the version developed for catapult launch. Public close-up footage makes the most useful distinction visible. The older ski jump configuration lacks the J-15T's catapult launch bar and the associated reinforcement around the nose landing gear. The exact J-15T production line remains out of public view. That limitation matters. A responsible reconstruction cannot turn an ordinary factory interior into a named secret plant, or label every unidentified component as J-15T hardware. But public reporting from Shenyang does reveal real manufacturing methods used across its aircraft work: computer-controlled machining, drilling and riveting, cable and pipe installation, precision inspection, and qualified metal additive manufacturing. These processes let us begin at the earliest defensible point, before the aircraft has a recognizable shape. In this first state, the future fighter exists as separate structures and mechanisms. Machined fittings wait beside formed panels. Reinforcing members, brackets, hinges, ducts, and fastener holes must meet drawings that control both shape and load. Some complex aerospace parts can be produced through metal additive manufacturing, but printing a shape is only the beginning. Shenyang engineers have publicly described the qualification work needed before such a part can be accepted. Material data, process data, and testing must establish that the result is not merely the right shape, but a usable aircraft component. That distinction between appearance and qualification runs through the entire build. A bracket may look complete while its dimensions are still being checked. A hole may be only millimeters from its intended position and still prevent two large structures from joining correctly. Aircraft assembly accumulates the tiny errors of thousands of interfaces. Workers counter that accumulation through fixtures, measured reference points, careful drilling, and controlled riveting. The objective is not simply to force pieces together. It is to make the assembled structure carry loads along the paths the designers intended. Separate subassemblies begin to establish the J-15T's identity. The forward fuselage forms around the single cockpit and nose gear bay. The center structure provides the foundation for the wing roots and the widely spaced engine nacelles. Wing sections gain their internal ribs, skins, control surfaces, and the joints that allow the outer panels to fold. Tail structures and canards remain separate until their alignment can be controlled against the central airframe. At this point, the aircraft is incomplete, unpainted and open. Wiring routes, ducts, access bays and structural attachment points are still exposed. Major joining changes the visual scale of the process. Large fixtures support the fuselage sections, while technicians establish position, measure alignment, drill final holes, and install permanent fasteners. The canards, wing roots, nacelle structure, and twin-tail foundations now have to preserve a very specific geometry. If a generated reconstruction gives the aircraft one tail, blends the two engine nacelles together, removes the canards, or substitutes the smaller shape of another fighter, it has stopped being a J-15T. These are not decorative details. They are the anchors that keep the product's identity stable as assembly progresses. But a recognizable airframe is still not a carrier aircraft. The next work centers on mechanisms that exist because the runway moves, pitches, and has very little room. The folding outer wings reduce the aircraft's footprint for deck parking and hangar movement. Their hinges and locks must preserve the wing's flight geometry when extended, then release and fold in a controlled way on deck. Public accounts of the J-15 program identify wing fold manufacturing and assembly as one of the carrier-specific challenges solved during development. In the factory story, the fold joint deserves more than a quick exterior shot. It is a boundary between a movable deck mechanism and a load-carrying flight surface. At the rear, the arresting hook solves the opposite problem. A catapult accelerates the aircraft. The hook must help stop it. During landing, the hook drops, strikes the deck, and captures an arresting wire. A Shenyang engineer interviewed beside the J-15T emphasized impact, overload, and wear as central design concerns. The hook, therefore, cannot be treated as a thin cosmetic rod that changes shape between shots. Its pivot, shank, hook head, surrounding structure, and deployed path must remain coherent. The mechanism has to transmit a sudden pull into the airframe, without becoming the weak link. The nose contains the feature that turns this carrier airframe into the T variant. The twin-wheel landing gear is visibly strengthened, and the launch bar connects the aircraft to the carrier's catapult mechanism. During launch preparation, the bar is not a generic towing handle. It forms part of a controlled interface between aircraft and ship. That means its geometry, pivoting motion, clearances, and attachment structure must be installed and checked as an integrated system. A close view of this mechanism offers the documentary's first promised payoff. A small component reveals the entire manufacturing thesis. If you enjoy engineering stories where one detail explains a much larger machine, subscribe to Modus Assembly as we continue through the build. With the carrier mechanisms installed, the airframe can receive the systems that turn structure into an aircraft. Engines occupy the separated rear nacelles. Cockpit equipment, flight control hardware, electrical cables, pipes, ducts, sensors, and access panels fill spaces that were previously open. Public reporting from Shenyang describes aircraft workers routing large numbers of cables and conduits through confined interiors. The exact J-15T arrangement is not public, so the visual reconstruction must show disciplined installation activity without inventing readable labels, secret boxes, or unsupported system layouts. This stage is also where continuity becomes difficult. Components cannot appear before they are installed, and closed panels cannot reopen without a reason. One shot might show an unfinished fuselage with empty engine bays. The next cannot suddenly present a painted, armed aircraft while workers continue the same task. A truthful production sequence holds one stable state at a time. Exposed structure during routing, installed engines during connection work, and closed surfaces only after the relevant inspections are complete. Finishing does not erase the engineering underneath. Exterior panels must fit around access points. Control surfaces must move through their required travel, and the folding wings must lock in both the extended and folded positions. Landing gear and the arresting hook can be cycled. Electrical and hydraulic systems can be checked. Measurements verify alignment and clearances. The light gray exterior and final markings arrive only after the airframe has reached a sufficiently complete state. The nose must remain free of the long projecting pitot associated with earlier configurations, while the launch bar remains visible beneath it. The completed aircraft can now leave the assembly environment. But completion is not acceptance. Ground checks place weight on the landing gear and expose leaks, interference, or movement that cannot be judged from a static component. Taxi trials exercise steering and braking. Engine runs test the aircraft as a connected system. Flight acceptance then moves the structure into aerodynamic loads that factory fixtures cannot reproduce. Public sources do not disclose a detailed J-15T acceptance checklist, so these scenes must remain a careful reconstruction of normal aerospace progression rather than a claim about a classified procedure. Carrier compatibility adds another layer. The J-15T is designed to operate around both the limited space of a flight deck and the specific geometry of a catapult launch position. Deck crews tow and position the aircraft. Outer wings may be folded for movement, then extended and locked before launch. The launch bar aligns with the catapult interface. Control surfaces are checked. The aircraft, deck crew, launch equipment, and ship's command system all have to reach the correct state before the catapult can fire. Then, the engineering disappears into motion. The launch bar carries the catapult's pull into the reinforced nose structure. The aircraft accelerates along Fujian's flat deck and becomes airborne. Official reporting says electromagnetic launch allows the J-15T to depart with full fuel and armament, avoiding the same launch constraint imposed by a ski jump. For the manufacturing story, however, the important image is not the payload. It is the uninterrupted load path from ship through launch bar and landing gear into the airframe assembled at Shenyang. Recovery proves the other half. The aircraft approaches with its landing gear down and hook deployed. The main wheels strike the deck. The hook engages an arresting wire, and the fighter decelerates over a short distance. The forces now travel from the rear mechanism into the structure. One aircraft must survive both events repeatedly. Pull from the nose during launch, impact through the landing gear, and arresting load from the tail during recovery. That is why the launch bar, fold joint, landing gear, and hook belong in the same manufacturing narrative. On September 22, 2025, the Chinese Navy announced that the J-15T, J-35, and KJ-600 had completed their first electromagnetic catapult-assisted takeoffs and arrested landings aboard Fujian. The announcement said the training verified compatibility between the carrier's launch and recovery systems and multiple aircraft types. After Fujian was commissioned on November 5th, the J-15T returned for repeated catapult takeoffs and landings during the carrier formation's first live force training at sea. The final product was no longer only an airworthy fighter. It had become a verified part of a ship aircraft system. That result also explains why the J-15T is more than a visual update to the original J-15. The baseline family established China's first generation of fixed-wing carrier fighters and solved foundational problems such as folding wings and arrested recovery. The T variant adds the catapult interface and the structural changes visible around the nose gear, allowing the same broad aircraft family to transition from ski jump operations toward electromagnetic launch. Its manufacturing story is therefore one of adaptation, Preserve the recognizable carrier fighter geometry. Strengthen the right load paths. Integrate the new interface. And prove it at sea. The closest functional comparison is the F/A-18E Super Hornet, another single-seat, twin-engine, carrier-suitable multi-role aircraft. But comparison should clarify the production problem, not create unsupported claims of equal size or performance. Both illustrate the same unforgiving principle. Carrier suitability is not added with paint, markings, or one bolt-on hook. It reaches into structure, landing gear, folding surfaces, deck handling, inspection, and the relationship between aircraft and ship. So the central question has a visible answer. A J-15T becomes ready for electromagnetic carrier operations by controlling the load path from its smallest qualified parts to its largest assembled structures. Precision machining and fastening establish the airframe. Folding wings and the arresting hook make it work on a carrier. Reinforced nose gear and the launch bar connect it to the catapult. Systems integration and acceptance turn the structure into a functioning aircraft. Finally, launch and recovery aboard Fujian prove that all of those elements operate together. The most revealing feature remains the smallest one we saw at the beginning. That short bar beneath the nose is where years of manufacturing, structural integration, and carrier development meet the deck. Follow Modus Assembly for more evidence-based journeys through the machines behind modern defense industry.